Marcia Tillman stood. Her voice was clear, steady. "Your Honor, we call Mr. Garrett Wynn to the stand." The name hit the room like a dropped glass. There was no gasp, just a ripple. Chairs shuffled, eyebrows raised, laptops opened in a frenzy across the media bench. Garrett Wynn wasn't a household name, but in D.C. comms circles, it might as well have been tattooed on every whiteboard in every war room. Former strategic advisor, known operator, worked for both the Trump and Biden administrations, a fixer, a flipper, a shadow who wrote narratives before others knew they were being told. He wasn't just an insider, he was the architect. And now, he was walking into court for Jasmine Crockett. Wynn took the stand with calm precision. Navy blazer, no tie, the kind of look that says, "I'm not here to play defense, I'm here to unload." He was sworn in. Judge Kaplan looked at him over the rim of her glasses. "You understand you are under oath?" Wynn nodded. "Crystal clear, Your Honor." Marcia stepped forward. "Mr. Wynn, would you please state your most recent role prior to your resignation?" "I was senior strategic consultant for Emerson Stratcom, a private firm contracted to manage media narratives and reputational management for political figures and high-net-worth clients." "Were any of those clients affiliated with or connected to the Trump family?" "Yes." "Specifically, Mr. Barron Trump?" Pause. "Yes." You could feel the air change again. "And during your time at Emerson Stratcom, were you involved in or witness to any media campaign related to Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett?" "Yes." "Can you describe that campaign?" Wynn leaned slightly forward. "The operation was titled internally as Pro-Strategic Public Retaliation. It was initiated 4 days after Congresswoman Crockett publicly criticized the Trump-appointed judge. The stated objective was to add discredit and destabilize her public image through coordinated media pressure." The courtroom murmured. Judge Kaplan raised a hand. "Order." Marcia continued. "Did Mr. Trump authorize this campaign?" "Yes. I was present during a video briefing where Barron Trump reviewed the materials and signed off verbally. There are emails confirming his approval." Marcia didn't flinch. "Your Honor, we have submitted those documents under seal as Defense Exhibit 17. Judge Kaplan nodded. Noted. On the plaintiff's side, Langham's jaw was clenched. He was scribbling something, fast. Marcia wasn't done. "Mr. Wynn, why did you come forward?" Wynn looked at Jasmine. "Not with sympathy, just clarity." "Because I was there when the strategy shifted from spin to sabotage. I saw what they were willing to do, not just to control the narrative, but to break someone for telling the truth. And I knew if I stayed silent, I'd be complicit." The room was quiet. No coughs, no typing, just breath held. Langham rose, desperate to punch holes. "Mr. Wynn, you're a disgruntled ex-employee, are you not?" "I'm a resigned consultant who refused to run a smear job disguised as crisis management." "You were terminated, weren't you?" "Number. I left voluntarily. I have the separation letter." Langham pivoted. "So your testimony is based on documents and recollections from a political comms firm, a hardly objective material." Wynn smirked slightly. "That firm helped write the talking points that we used to justify this lawsuit. If you want to argue objectivity, we should start there." Langham pressed harder, but Wynn didn't waver. Each answer was sharper than the last. By the time the cross ended, the courtroom knew something had shifted. When Wynn stepped down, it wasn't just a witness leaving the stand, it was the wall collapsing. Marcia looked at the judge. "We have no further witnesses at this time." Kaplan nodded. "Court is adjourned until tomorrow." Closing arguments at 9 a.m. Jasmine stood, still silent. But now there was a glint in her eye. Not vindication, not triumph, resolve. Outside, the crowd had doubled. Inside, Barron Trump's lawsuit had just lit a fuse under his own narrative machina, and Jasmine Crockett had the match in her hand. The next morning, San Diego's federal courthouse was surrounded by satellite trucks and mounted cameras. Street artists painted murals of Jasmine Crockett in charcoal gray, lips sealed, under the word, unsilenced. Protesters and supporters on both sides chanted slogans, some angry, some defiant, all electrified. Inside, the courtroom felt like the eye of a storm. At precisely 9 a.m., Judge Kaplan entered. "Let's proceed with closing arguments." Theodore Langham stood first, smoothing his eye like a man trying to remember how to breathe. "Your Honor, members of the court," he began, This is not a case about politics or partisanship. This is about principle, about a young man's right to privacy, to dignity. Mr. Trump was dragged into the spotlight by a baseless accusation, amplified by a public figure who knew better. He pointed subtly toward Jasmine. She made a claim, a dangerous one, without proof, and now she hides behind the veil of political discourse. That cannot be the standard. He turned back toward the judge. If this court allows such conduct to stand without consequence, we will have legalized targeted defamation as political theater. I urge the court to protect the line between opinion and attack, between truth and weaponized speculation. Langham sat, no movement. Then Marcia Tillman stood, and no theatrics, no folder, just presence. Your Honor, I'd like to begin by agreeing with my opposing counsel on one point. This case is not about politics. It's about truth. She walked a few paces forward. The truth is that Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett answered a direct question with honesty based on a pattern of behavior on information, sources, and instinct forged in public service. She paused. What she didn't do was lie. What she didn't do was invent. What she didn't do was hide behind a media machine. That's what the other side did. Marcia turned slightly to face the gallery. This lawsuit was never about injury. It was about intimidation. The goal was not justice, but silence. But the truth, as we saw yesterday, has a way of refusing to stay buried. She returned her gaze to Judge Kaplan. You now know there was a coordinated campaign, premeditated retaliation, and an attempt to destroy a sitting member of Congress through manufactured outrage. You saw the documents. You heard the witness. Her voice lowered slightly, a note of gravity sinking in. We don't punish people in this country for naming what they see, especially not when what they see is real. We protect speech. We protect courage. And in this courtroom, we protect the truth. She sat. Judge Kaplan took a long pause. Then, ruling will be delivered Friday at 10 a.m. Court is adjourned. The followed. The second Jasmine stepped outside, the questions flew. Congresswoman, do you think Barron Trump will drop the case? Was the surprise witness part of your strategy from the beginning? What message does this send to other public figures? She didn't answer. She didn't need to. That afternoon, the clip of Garrett twins' testimony hit 12 million views on YouTube. By nightfall, the memo labeled Strategic Public Retaliation was trending under the hashtag #SPGate. Journalists dug deeper, revealing a web of media contracts, influencer payments, and at least one shady wire transfer from a PAC connected to a Trump-aligned donor. Meanwhile, inside Trump Tower, panic set in. A leaked voice memo captured Barron Trump shouting at his legal team. You told me she'd fold. You said we had her cornered. Now I'm the one getting dragged. Langham's response was muted. We underestimated her team, a broken bar in her timing. By Thursday morning, multiple outlets began pressing the Trump camp for comment on the SBR memo. No response came. Behind the scenes, pressure mounted on Trump family advisors to distance themselves from the suit. Even some conservative commentators began hedging. She may have gone too far, one Fox News host said, but if this win testimony holds up a broken bar, this wasn't about protecting Barron. This was about silencing someone who got too close. Jasmine, meanwhile, returned to her Fort Worth office. Her staff welcomed her with quiet nods. No cheers, no clapping, just respect. She closed the door to her office, opened a worn leather notebook, and wrote one sentence. They tried to break me in court. I'll finish them in Congress. Friday, a judgment day. The federal courtroom was more subdued that morning. Less noise. More eyes on Judge Kaplan, who entered at 10:02 a.m. and went straight to the ruling. In reviewing the plaintiff's claims and the defense's evidence, this court finds that the statements made by Congresswoman Crockett fall within the protection of political discourse. Furthermore, new evidence submitted under seal reveals a documented campaign intended to undermine her credibility, thereby nullifying claims of good faith injury by the plaintiff. She looked at the plaintiff's bench. This case is dismissed with prejudice. Gasps, murmurs, then a single loud exhale from Theo. Kaplan wasn't done. I will also be referring the sealed materials to the House Ethics Committee and the Department of Justice for further review. That line echoed like a siren. Outside the courthouse, Jasmine stood behind the podium, cameras clicking. "I said from the beginning, I don't fear bullies, I don't bow to billionaires, and I don't apologize for telling the truth." She held up a copy of the ruling. "This wasn't just about me, it was about everyone who's ever been threatened into silence. Let this be a message: if you come for the truth, you better come correct." Final shot. Back in the Trump media war room, half the screens were dark. One aide asked quietly, "Should we prepare a statement?" Barron Trump sat still, jaw locked. He didn't answer, because there was nothing left to say.